So now that we're ready to start the installation of the Plantation Shutters, I just want to show you the parts that you need to go and grab from the garage or, the local hardware store. And then I'll show you the parts that you'll have left over when you've sorted out your components. So we're doing the installation now. And the things that you require is a caulking gun, some no more gaps, a cloth and a bucket. That'll be when you're doing your inside mount L frames that we can caulk around the outside once the frame's nice and square and just hide all those light gaps, which will really make the shutters pop and finish off everything perfectly. We need a spirit level, hopefully longer ones if you've got bigger Plantation Shutters. We need to get these packers, which you can buy from Bunnings. I'll just come a little bit close to the camera here and you can see those packers there, and that's exactly what they look like. Now, this little kit comes in a multitude of different sizes, so we've got the different coloured ones that show the different sizes there. This kit's about $20 or so, I think, but once you've got it, I promise you'll find thousands of uses for them around the home. But they are fantastic for installing Plantation Shutters, and we use them all the time. You need a countersink bit, so when we fit our screws, we'll countersink that hole so our screw sits in nice and flush with the frames. That's a 5mm drill, and you'll also note that that's 150 mils long, and that's really easy to pre-drill the frames and make sure you don't scuff the frame. Makes it really easy. So we've got our trusty cordless drill, 150mm bit. This is the number 2 bit, which takes our installation screws. Now, the parts that we've got left over after we finish building the Plantation Shutters themselves, if you've got T-posts in the layout that you're building, you'll get this little T-post bracket, and that will come with its own set of screws to fit that T-post bracket. You'll have little striker plates left over, which are those guys there, and a little striker plate screw, which is this little tiny screw. And that's so when the panel closes against the frame, the magnet comes in contact with the striker plate and holds everything nice and tight for you. So they're going to be left over. You'll get some of these white head screws left over. That's to finish screwing the Plantation Shutter hinges into the Plantation Shutter. I'm going to talk about that. We'll also have provided some installation screws. This one here is for an inside mount L frame, but there'll be different installation screws. If you're doing an outside mount L frame, the screw length will be a little bit longer. And you'll also have these little white stickers so that once it's screwed off, we can put these nice little white stickers over our screw heads and finish everything perfectly. So the next thing we're going to do is go and start building the L frame, and I'm going to do that in a 4-sided version and a 3-sided version, which has the little light block underneath, and then I'm going to take you through the installation process. So now it comes time to start building our L frame, and I've got myself a nice clear area, and I've laid my L frame, if your Plantation Shutter has an L frame, out on the ground here. This is marked L for left. This L frame is marked T for top. This is R for the right hand side. And this frame that I'm making right now is a 3-sided frame, so it does come with this piece of light block at the bottom. But if I had a frame across the bottom, it would be marked B for bottom. So the important first thing that I did is I put this little bit of tape here at the top, so that always tells me where the top of the frame is, and that's really important. So as we move it around and we have lunch, we always know where the top of the L frame is, so we always know how to install it. Now, the way we bring an L frame together is with these little Hoffman keys, which is that little key just there, okay? Now, it's got a little groove, like a little V shape at the top, and it's a flat side there at the bottom. So what we do is we have the V shape going into the frame, and we'll just sit that over just like that there. And you can see I'm doing that because I've got carpet here. I'm doing a little bit of timber. Now, when I present this right-hand frame, I just come over the top nice and gently and get that in the right position, and then I just push down nice and flat so that the front of the L frame is nice and flat and nice and level. Okay. Now, it's really important that once the frame is built, that we've got to protect these miters at all time. And as we move the frame into the room that we're going to install it, we've got to be careful. You've probably got to have two people to hold each side of the frame and protect it. You can't just go and pick it up from the middle like a big frame and then just carry it around the house, because it'll just drop down like that and you'll end up damaging those miters, which is what you don't want to do. Now, because this shutter here is a three-sided frame, then that piece of light block is going to sit across the bottom, just like that, and then we're going to screw that into the window frame afterward. And I'm going to show you a four-sided frame installation and a three-sided frame. Now, if your plantation shutter has a T-post, the T-post will be marked again with T for top and B for bottom. And it'll also be marked, if you've got multiple T-posts, it'll be marked T1 and T2. And we always know everything starts from the left-hand side, T-post number 1, back to the left-hand side, T-post number 2, etc., as you're building out your frame. Now, I'll just come a little bit closer to the camera. If we've got a T-post, there's this little T-post bracket that I've installed, and you can see that just here. Now, what I did was that bracket come with some screws inside the package, and you can see that I've fitted the two round screws in the down direction, and in the front direction like this here, this is obviously the front. I've got an oval shaped hole here and then a round hole on that side there, and I'll show you exactly what that's for. All right. So once those metal T-post brackets are installed, you can see what I've done here is I've put this large piece of tape across the top of the L frame, and regarding the width measurement that you've given us for the T-post, I've started on my left-hand side and I've just put a little pencil mark to tell me exactly where the middle of my T-post is going to go. So I present the T-post there to the front of the L frame. I've got everything lined up in the center, and the screws that came with the T-post, I'm just going to use the center of the oval shaped hole to hold that in place, okay? Now, once again, if you've got a second T-post, which is marked T-post 2, we've again got the orientation around the correct way. We've taken our measurement from the left-hand side again, and we've come across and we've marked where the center of that T-post is going to go. Now, I've just used blue painter's tape here, and I've just used a pencil. I wouldn't recommend a texter, because it can potentially leach through and mark the shutter frame, which is ultimately that you don't want to have happen. Now, this is a three-sided option here, and you can see I've got everything lined up nice and straight, and my T-post is fitted in the oval shaped hole. And now I also have to put a screw in this side here. So once again, the measurement I've taken from the left-hand side to the center, I'll mark that same measurement on the light block or the frame from the left-hand side back to the center of where that T-post is going to go. So I know I've got that sort of nice and straight. And now I've also fitted a screw in the center of the oval shaped hole. So that will give me the ability, once the panels are installed, to square things up and get my lines looking fantastic. So be careful with the L frame. I can't stress that enough. You must protect those miters at all costs, and be really careful with the way that you are moving it around, and I hope that you can get two people to help you do that. We're ready to present the frame into the window now and continue on with the installation. So I've just completed the installation of a layout number C, which is 2 panels, 1 left, 1 right. And I've done that in a 4-sided L frame. And what I'm going to do now is just deconstruct the installation and just show you exactly what I did to achieve this outcome. So the first thing was fitting my L frame in place and using the spirit level to square everything up. You can see I've used a lot of Packers here, there, and down this side. Sorry to turn my back on the camera, but I've used the packers to ensure that my frame was sitting square inside the window frame. Now, when you put the L frame inside, you are going to be able to move it about a little bit left and right and top and bottom and get everything sort of sitting nice and square within your recess. My next step was to put some screws into the sides of the L frame, and I used my 5mm drill to pre-drill those holes. I also countersunk the screw, and then I put the installation screws in place. And in this instance, I've put a screw here and there, and one on that side and one on that side there. So I've protected my miters at all costs. I've put my packers in place to square everything up before I used any screws, and I did all the preparation to start with. Once my hinges are fitted the correct way around, so the groove faces forward, so the screw for the hinge can sit in the screw, I only put my screws for the hinge in the top and the bottom oval shaped holes, and that gave me the ability then to adjust my height. Once my height is set, I can then put a screw in the center round hole, but that's one of the last steps that we're going to do in the installation process. So I've presented my panels the correct way around and put the hinge pins in place, and you can see that my tape is still there that tells me this is the top, and this piece of tape tells me that it's panel number 1. On this shutter just here, again, that's the top, and this is panel number 2. Now, we always know that a plantation shutter dresses in the up position, so that's why that's open, privacy, and then closed at night time, and you can see I've got the tension on those blades absolutely perfectly. So once my panels are presented, I've adjusted my height of the panel and got these perfectly square lines situated. I've got my bumper on the bottom of these styles just touching the L frame. I'm nearly ready and nearly completed the installation of my plantation shutter. Then once everything's fitted off, I've put a couple of extra screws in sort of here and there, and also there and there. And I've again used my packers to make sure that my frame stayed nice and straight, and that I had these perfectly straight lines between the plantation shutter panels. The last thing I did was fitted my little striker plates onto the frame, which are these little metal striker plates here. They're like a D shape, and they're fitted so that now the plantation shutter closes inside its frame, just like that. And they're fitted obviously at the top and the bottom. The last thing that I've got to do now is just pull out these packers around the outsides here. And I want to use my no more gaps to put that around the frame on all 4 sides and really just make your plantation shutters pop. After we've no more gapped it, the last thing we have to do is just peel off the protective plastic, which is on all the components there. Pull off my little sticker here, and then on the blades there's a bit of protective plastic that comes off. So I've kept everything nice and square, I've kept it neat, I've understood where my panels are, I've adjusted the height of my panel here, I've no more gapped the plantation shutter. You can see all my lines are all perfect because I did the preparation to make sure that everything stayed nice and square. And I've put my little white stickers over my screws, and you can see I've now got a fantastic outcome with the installation of the plantation shutter. So it's really not difficult. The next video, we're going to show you how to do an installation of a 3-sided frame that has that piece of light block across the bottom. We're now going to talk about the installation of a 3-sided frame with a T-post, and I just want to explain a couple of variations that we have with a 3-sided frame. Now, you would have watched the 4-sided frame, and the entire process is really quite the same, but just let me deconstruct this installation, as I did with the 4-sided frame, and show you just a couple of variations, with the light block across the bottom, and then with a T-post fitted. Now, These panels are quite small. Obviously, we wouldn't do that in real life. Less is more, and would open things up a lot wider. But just for the demonstration purposes, I wanted to go through that. So once again, I've used my packers as I did in the previous video. I've put the packers in. I've protected my corners, and I've got everything squared up as I go along step by step. Everything is square, going into the next step, going into the next step, etc. I've also, because this is a 3-panel installation, you can see my stickers are still here. That tells me the top, and this sticker tells me that I built panel 1, this is panel 2, and this is panel 3, and you can obviously know everything works from left to right. I've got my Plantation Shutters dressing in the up direction, which is like that there. Everything's looking good, and once again I have semi-privacy, fully open, fully closed, and I've got my tension on those blades looking really good. Now, one thing about a 3-sided frame, or even a direct mount for that matter, is that it's a bottom-up program. So everything starts with the bottom, because the panel itself has to fit within the recess, and you can see that makes up the recess there. So if I just open up this panel here, you can see that there is the light block that's placed in behind the Plantation Shutter just there, and then when I close it, I've got a nice even gap all the way across the bottom, and I've got that as low as possible. You can't raise it, and have a 3 or 4 mil gap, particularly with the bigger, wider Plantation Shutters. Got all my bumpers sort of here, there, and there, also just touching on the bottom of the recess, and that's how I'm able to keep the panel nice and stable. Okay, so if I just open this up again, I'll close those blades. I've been able to fit my striker plates here and here for the Plantation Shutter to close into, and also I've fitted my light block here with my striker plates fitted there and there. So there's a striker plate for the top and bottom for the shutter to close into and hold nice and closed. Now, this is probably going to be a bit hard to see, but this is our T-post, this part here, and you can see we use a T-post because this is where we hinge, in this instance, panel number 2. And with the T-post, there's an oval-shaped hole in the T-post bracket on that side, and there's an oval-shaped hole, and I know you can't see that, but there's an oval-shaped hole over here. So during the process of installing the T-post, this is where we're able to get the T-post once the frame, and we're starting to present the panels, that we can get the T-post sitting in a straight up and down direction, and we can move it slightly. Once we've got that correct, we can then put a screw in the round hole and then lock that off. But we don't use the round hole until we've got everything squared up and everything set. So let's have a look at how that closes. You can see I've got 2 beautiful straight lines down here. I've got my panels sitting in a nice straight line across here. The last thing I have to do is use the no more gaps to apply that through this side across the top to fill in my light gap that's here and down the side. And that's the last thing that we do to make the Plantation Shutter pop and make it look fantastic. So congratulations on coming this far. You've got to now peel off the protective strip that's on each one of the blades. It's also on the rails, and that will obviously remove all these tapes and bits and bobs, so you can come out with a fantastic result and present the Plantation Shutter as it should be. So congratulations on coming this far, taking your time, getting it all square and level, and making sure that you come out with a fantastic outcome. If you like the information on this video, then can I please ask you to subscribe and like these videos, and also leave any comments for me to answer in the comment section of our YouTube channel. If you're coming up against something that's a bit tricky, then please call us, please email through a photo, and it may even be me personally that helps you on your Plantation Shutter journey and ensures that you come out with a fantastic result. So thanks for watching, congratulations. I've hoped you've saved heaps of money, and when we're out of lockdown, we can all go away on a holiday and celebrate all our success. So thanks for watching once again, and I'll see you on the next series of videos. Thanks.